Every so often, a cosmetics product gets quietly pulled from shelves. No headlines, a few lines in a press release on a Friday when nobody's reading. And when you actually go and find out why, it is almost never because the product didn't work. It's because of something that was inside it that nobody ever mentioned on the front of the box. Here's the part most people never stop to think about. The makeup on your face does not rinse off in 30 seconds like a hand soap does. A foundation sits on your skin for 12, 14 hours at a stretch. A lip product, you reapply it, you eat through it, you drink through it, and a measurable amount of it goes exactly where lip products go. Your face is not a sealed barrier that you wipe clean at the end of the day. For a lot of these ingredients, your face is a doorway. So today, I'm not going to scare you with a list of evil brands. That's the lazy version of this video, and it's usually a lie. Instead, I'm going to show you 7 specific things that hide inside makeup, what the science actually says about each one, why Europe treats them very differently than the United States does, and then 4 clean swaps you can genuinely make this week. Go grab the product you wear every single day and flip it over while you watch. We're going to read it together. 3 ground rules first, because this topic attracts an enormous amount of nonsense, and I refuse to add to it. Rule 1. I'm going to stay conservative the whole way through. I'll tell you what's actually restricted, what's been flagged by named scientific bodies, and what's still genuinely debated, and I'll tell you which is which, every time. I am not going to tell you a lipstick is going to kill you. That's the fear bait version, and it's a lie, and you deserve better than that. Rule 2. This is about ingredients, not brands. The same company can sell you a problem product and a clean product 6 inches apart on the very same shelf. And a couple of them do exactly that, which we'll get to, because it tells you everything about how this industry actually thinks about you. And Rule 3, the trust rule for this whole channel. I take no sponsorships from any brand I review, clean or otherwise. Nobody's paying me to call their competitor toxic. If I name a clean swap, it's because it passes the test, not because they bought the slot. And the single most useful thing you'll learn today is a label trick that takes about 11 seconds and works on every product you own. Stick around for the middle, because that's the part you actually keep. Quick bit of science first, because it's the foundation for everything after it. Skin is a barrier, but it is not a wall. It's selectively permeable, which means it's designed in places to let certain things through. Facial skin is thinner than the skin on your forearm. The skin around your eyes is some of the thinnest on your entire body. And makeup is specifically engineered to stay. Long wear, transfer-proof, waterproof, which means it sits in prolonged contact with that thin skin for most of your waking day. Now add one more idea, because it's the one that matters most. The dose makes the poison, but so does the repetition. A trace amount of something in one product, one time, is almost certainly nothing at all. The concern that actual scientists raise is cumulative, daily, lifelong, low-level exposure. The same handful of ingredients in your foundation and your concealer and your setting spray and your lip every single day for decades. That's the exposure pattern that regulators in Europe built their rules around. And it's the exact pattern the American system has historically been much more relaxed about. That gap between how Europe and the United States regulate the very same products is the thread running through this whole list. Let's start pulling it. Number 7 is the most common of all, and it's hiding in plain sight in a single word on the label: fragrance, or its fancier twin, parfum. Here's why it matters. In the United States, fragrance has historically been treated as a protected trade secret, which means a company can list that one single word and not disclose the dozens of individual chemicals it actually stands for. Some of those chemicals are completely harmless. But the fragrance umbrella is also where certain phthalates have been found. Phthalates are a class of chemicals that several scientific bodies study as possible endocrine disruptors. And an endocrine disruptor, in plain English, is a substance that may interfere with your body's hormone system. The European Union requires disclosure of certain fragrance allergens and restricts specific phthalates in cosmetics. And the result is genuinely strange. The very same multinational brand will often sell a differently formulated product in Europe than the one it sells in America. Same name on the front, different rules on the back. And here's the kicker. Fragrance and makeup is there purely for the experience. It does nothing for performance. A foundation does not cover better because it smells like roses. So this is an ingredient you can cut with zero downside. If you see fragrance or parfum near the top of a product going near your eyes or your lips, that is your first swap candidate. Number 6, you will never actually see written as the scary word, and that's the whole problem. You'll see names like DMDM Hydantoin, quaternium-15, imidazoledonyl urea. These are preservatives, and they work by slowly releasing tiny amounts of formaldehyde over time to stop the product from growing bacteria. Now, why does that matter? Formaldehyde is classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as a known human carcinogen in the context of inhaling it. And that context matters, so I'm going to be precise. The cosmetic exposure route is different from breathing it in, and the science there is about irritation and sensitization as much as anything else. So the honest claim, the one I'll stand behind, is this. These are formaldehyde-releasing preservatives. Formaldehyde is a recognized carcinogen by inhalation, and the European Union restricts these preservatives far more tightly than America historically has. That's it. I'm not going to tell you your mascara gives you cancer because that's the line you do not cross. These show up in some long-wear and water-based products, and the swap is easy because cleaner lines simply use a different preservative system. You're not giving up a benefit. You're giving up a cheaper preservative. Number 5 is the one that genuinely surprised me when the research came out. And it's the most defensible item on this entire list because there's a clear study sitting behind it. Researchers tested a wide range of cosmetics, particularly the long-wear, waterproof, and transfer-proof foundations, mascaras, and liquid lip products. And they found markers of a group of chemicals nicknamed the forever chemicals in a striking share of them. These are the same family of chemicals you've heard about in non-stick pans and waterproof jackets. They're called forever chemicals because they don't break down easily in the environment or in your body. And several of them are being studied for links to real health effects. So why on earth are they in your makeup? Because they do exactly what long-wear makeup promises. They make things slick, water-resistant, and long-lasting. The lasts all day, won't budge, waterproof claim on the front of the box is very often the reason the forever chemical is in the formula in the first place. The marketing feature and the concern are the same molecule. And this is the cleanest illustration of this channel's entire point. You paid extra for longwear. You paid extra for waterproof. And the thing you paid extra for is the exact thing the clean swap removes. The clean version isn't just safer. It's the same product without the feature you were sold a problem to get. Okay, stop scrolling for a second because this is the part you actually keep. You do not need to memorize 7 chemical names. You need one habit. Here it is. 11 seconds on any product. Flip the product over. Find the ingredient list, the small print on the back or the box, and you're scanning for 3 things. Only 3. 1. The word fragrance or parfum. 2. Any preservative name ending in something like Hydantoin or starting with quaternium. That's the formaldehyde-releaser family. And 3. On anything labeled waterproof, longwear, or transfer-proof, just treat that claim itself as your flag, because that's where the forever chemicals tend to live. If a product trips all 3, it's a swap candidate. If it trips none of them, you can genuinely relax about it. That's the whole skill. You just replaced 7 things to memorize with a 3-second scan. And here's the literacy point underneath it. Europe built a list of substances restricted in cosmetics that runs into the many hundreds. America, for most of its history, restricted only a small fraction of that. The point isn't the exact number, and the laws are slowly changing, so don't quote me an exact figure. The point is this: approved for sale and studied and cleared are not the same sentence. And on this side of the ocean, the gap between those two has been very, very wide. If this is the kind of thing you'd rather understand than panic about, the clean swaps, the dupes, the gold mines, subscribe. No brand pays me. It's just me and a label. Number 4 is about powders. Pressed powders, some eyeshadows, some blushes, the loose setting powders. And the ingredient is talc. Now be careful here, because this one gets wildly exaggerated constantly. Talc itself is a soft mineral, and it is not the core concern. The concern is contamination. Talc is mined from the earth, often near asbestos. And there have been documented cases, recalls, and lawsuits, all matters of public record, where cosmetic talc products tested positive for asbestos contamination. So here's the defensible version. Not talc is poison, but talc can be contaminated with asbestos if it isn't rigorously tested. And there is a public record of exactly that happening. Europe and various regulators have pushed for asbestos testing of cosmetic talc, and the standards differ by region. The swap is simple and increasingly common. Talc-free powders, often built on alternatives like cornstarch or mica or silica. A lot of brands now print talc-free right on the front because they know shoppers look for it. Which is, by the way, the industry quietly admitting the concern is real enough to market against. Number 3 hides inside a feature that people assume is purely good. The SPF, the sun protection in your tinted moisturizer, your foundation, your CC cream. Some of the chemical UV filters used to deliver that sun protection, oxybenzone is the famous example, have been studied as possible endocrine disruptors and have faced restrictions in some places, including environmental bans tied to coral reef damage. But here's the nuance you absolutely have to keep. Sun protection is genuinely deeply important, and this is not a reason to skip sunscreen. The defensible claim is narrow. Certain chemical filters are under scientific and regulatory scrutiny, and you can get the very same protection from mineral filters instead. The swap is mineral SPF, built on zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. They work differently. They sit on the surface and reflect the light away, and they aren't the filters under the endocrine question. So you keep the protection and you drop the debated chemistry. Do not let anyone twist this part into don't wear sunscreen. That is the opposite of what I'm telling you. Number 2 is about color products and lip products most of all, because lip is the one you quite literally eat slowly over time. Surveys of lipsticks and other color cosmetics have at times detected trace levels of heavy metals such as lead as contaminants. And here's the honest framing, the one I can defend. These are typically trace contaminant level amounts, not deliberate ingredients, and one application is not the concern. The concern that researchers actually raise is, once again, cumulative ingestion, because you do eat a measurable amount of lip product over years and years of reapplying it. Europe sets tighter caps on certain heavy metal contaminants than America historically has. And there's no single swap brand for this one because it's a contamination issue, not an ingredient you can scan for. So the move here is different. Favor brands that publish third-party heavy metal testing. The good ones test, and they tell you. That's the tell. A brand that posts its testing is a brand that actually did the testing. And number one is the most famous one of all, and I saved it because it carries the punchline of the entire video. Parabens. Names like propylparaben, butylparaben. They're preservatives, and they've been studied for years as possible endocrine disruptors. The science here is genuinely debated. Some parabens are considered low risk, and Europe has specifically restricted certain ones while still permitting others. So the defensible line is a class of preservatives, some members restricted in Europe, studied for hormone activity, and easy to avoid, measured, not parabens are poison. But here's the part that matters more than the chemistry, the hypocrisy. Walk into a store and you will find, made by the very same parent company, sometimes on the very same shelf, two products. One, full of the conventional preservative system, and one marketed as clean, paraben-free for sensitive skin at a higher price. The company already knows how to make the clean version. They make it, they sell it to you, and they charge you more for it. While the cheaper product still contains the exact thing the expensive product was built to remove. That is not a safety story. That is a spreadsheet. The distance between the version that respects your concerns and the version that doesn't is about 6 inches of shelf and a price increase. They didn't fail to figure out the clean formula. They figured it out, and then they put it behind a paywall. So let's make this actually useful. 4 swaps by category. And remember, clean is an unregulated word, so check the label yourself. Don't trust the front of the box. For your base, look for a fragrance-free, paraben-free, non-longwear foundation with a short ingredient list. And look for the words fragrance-free spelled out, not unscented, because those are 2 different things. For mascara, choose a clean one that avoids the formaldehyde-releasers and isn't marketed as waterproof or transfer-proof to dodge the forever chemical pattern. You give up a little smudge proofing. That's the trade, and now you know why. For powder and blush, go talc-free, built on mica or silica or cornstarch. Talc-free on the front, confirmed on the back. And for lip, favor a brand that publishes its heavy metal and third-party testing. For lip, transparency is the feature you're actually shopping for. And notice what every single swap has in common: a shorter ingredient list, a fragrance-free label, and a brand that tells you what it tests for. You don't need a chemistry degree. You need a brand that isn't hiding the list. Now, one more thing before we wrap, and it might be the most useful part of the whole video because it protects you from the people pretending to be the solution. The moment clean became a selling point, the industry did what it always does. It learned to fake it. So here are the marketing words that mean absolutely nothing legally, and what to look for instead. Clean. There is no regulated definition of the word clean. A brand can print it on anything it likes. It's a vibe, not a standard. Natural. Also meaningless. And worse, natural does not automatically mean safe. Poison ivy is natural. Lead is natural. The word tells you nothing at all about the actual ingredients inside. Non-toxic. Completely unregulated and honestly a little absurd because the whole question is about dose and exposure, not some magic toxic or not switch. Dermatologist tested. Tested how? On how many people? Did it pass or did it fail? The phrase discloses none of that, and clinically proven with no study you can actually go and read is just a nice sounding sentence. And here's my personal favorite trap. unscented. Unscented does not mean fragrance-free. Unscented very often means they added a masking fragrance to cover up the smell of the other ingredients. So you can buy a product that says unscented right on the front that still contains the exact fragrance you were trying to avoid. The words you actually want are fragrance-free, spelled out, and a short ingredient list you can read all the way through. And those little seals and certifications on the front, some are genuinely useful, and some are essentially pay-to-play. The useful ones are independent, third-party programs with public standards you can go and read for yourself. The useless ones are badges a brand more or less handed itself. The test is the same as everything else on this channel. Can you trace it back to a real public standard? Or is it just a good-looking logo? If you can't find the standard behind it, treat the badge as decoration. So here's how you cut through all of it in one move. Ignore the front of the box entirely. The front is where the marketing lives. Flip it to the back, run your 11-second scan, and then look for one last thing. Transparency. Does this brand show you a full ingredient list in plain language? Does it publish its testing? A brand that's confident in its formula tells you everything. A brand that's selling you a vibe puts a soft, reassuring word on the front and quietly hopes you never turn it over. So here's what I want you to walk away with, because it was never the 7 chemicals. Those names will change, the rules will change, the science will keep moving. The thing that won't change is the 11-second habit. Flip it over, scan for fragrance, scan for the formaldehyde-releaser family, treat waterproof as a flag, and favor brands that publish their testing. That habit protects you no matter what gets reformulated next year. And the real villain was never one brand. The villain is a system that figured out the clean version and then decided to sell you both, the problem and the cure, 6 inches apart, and then let you pay extra to opt out of the thing it could have just left out for free. The moment you can read the back of the box, you stop being the person that system was built for. So tell me below, flip over the product you wear every single day, read me the first 5 ingredients down in the comments, and I'll tell you what I'd swap. I read these, and we're going to do a few of yours on camera next time. And the next video is the bright flip side of this one. The cheap, clean, genuinely boring brands that quietly do all of this right and cost a fraction of the clean luxury ones charging you $40 to remove a 50-cent preservative. Subscribe so you don't miss it.